You're listening to Relating with Jen Funk, where we are getting honest about the relationships that matter most. If you want stronger, more connected relationships with the people you love, you're in the right place. Let's get started. Well, hello, and welcome back to another episode of Relating with Jen Funk. I am Jen, relationship coach and your host, and I am so glad to have you here today because we are talking about something that so many parents feel deeply this time of year. And I don't think we always talk about it, but today that's what we're going to do. And that is the pressure of making the holidays magical for our kids. Now, if you stay with me through the end of this episode, you will learn what kids really remember about the holidays and what they don't, and also how to stay connected to your kids during this season, whether they are littles or they're teenagers or your college age kids or even your grown adult children. We'll also talk about how to let go of the pressure that sucks all the joy out of the season and those small moments of connection that actually build lasting memories. And finally, we will talk about how to offer your family the best version of yourself this season. Now, before we dig in, I do want to start by acknowledging that not everyone who listens to the podcast celebrates Christmas, of course, but whatever you celebrate, or if you even celebrate a specific holiday at all, the desire to create meaningful moments for the people that we love, well, that is universal. So whether your traditions are cultural or spiritual or just unique traditions to your family, I think that everyone can get something out of this episode. Now, in our home, we do celebrate Christmas. So I will be speaking from that perspective with all the wrapping and the planning and the tree and the magic of it all and the rushing around and nostalgia and all the things, especially all of the pressure. Because no matter what holiday you celebrate, there's something about this season, I think, that brings out the desire to give our kids the best version of everything. We love them so much, and we often feel this pressure to make everything perfect for them. Now, for some of us, perfect looks like recreating our own wonderful childhood memories. And for others, it means giving our kids something that we didn't have. We're trying to create better childhood memories. Or for some, it means keeping everybody happy, making sure no one feels left out, or basically holding the entire family's emotional temperature steady. And sometimes without realizing it, we tie our self-worth as a parent to how the holiday turns out. We think, well, if the kids are happy, then I did my job. Or, well, if everybody gets along and nobody's fighting, then I succeeded. But honestly, that puts way too much pressure on us. That is not pressure that one single person can carry for a whole family. And here's the thing that we often forget this time of year, especially when we are deep in the whirlwind of the shopping and the scheduling and just basically trying to be everything for everyone, is that our kids don't care if things are perfect. They don't remember the details. Half the time, they don't even notice the details. What they remember is the feeling. They remember the feeling of being loved. They remember the feeling of belonging, the feeling of being seen and heard and welcomed, and basically the feeling of home, however your family defines that, whatever that looks like for you. In many ways, the feeling is the holiday. So I want you to pause for a minute. Think back to one of your own childhood holiday memories. Pick a favorite memory, and chances are what you remember is who you were with. You probably remember how you felt or the connection that you felt during that time. I remember every year, my parents were divorced. We'd be with my dad every other weekend, one night a week. And I would probably be on a Friday night on his weekend. I remember we would go to the tree lot. Do they even have that anymore on the gas station corners? And we would go and pick out a live tree. And I remember it was cold and it was exciting. It's like the start to the season, but you don't want to do it too early or the tree's going to die. And so there's conversations around that. And I remember my dad always complaining that the trees were so darn expensive. And we would always get a Fraser fir. I remember the type of tree that we would get. But again, it's not the details or the logistics of it. It's the feeling of being with my dad and being excited about Christmas time. And maybe for you, it's not a tree lot. Maybe it was helping your grandmother bake cookies. We would always help our grandmother make Christmas candy, and I like taste it when I think about it. Or it's driving around looking at Christmas lights. Maybe that's something you remember, everybody piling in the car and going to visit relatives. Or maybe it's something really small, like the same candle smell every year. Oh my gosh, my favorite candle smell is fresh balsam from Bath and Body Works. It smells just like a Christmas tree, and maybe that's flashback to my memories of the tree lots is why I love that candle so much. But it could be any of those memories. Maybe you always open a present on Christmas Eve and the excitement of that. Whatever it is, these are really just simple, ordinary moments during the season, but those are the ones that stick. And that is still true for kids today at every age and every stage. So let's go through that. Let's start when your kids were young. When they're small, the magic of the season comes from you being with them. It comes from the energy in the house, from the warmth and the excitement. They don't need elaborate plans or some sort of meticulously orchestrated holiday celebration. They really just need you reading a book to them or baking cookies with too much frosting and they look like a total hot mess, or staying in your pajamas all day and drinking hot chocolate and watching the same Christmas movie for the 20th time in a row. Or maybe it's dancing around the living room to Mariah Carey's first Christmas album, the best Christmas album in history, in my opinion. It's feeling your presence. That's what your young kids need. They will not remember whether the wrapping paper matched the bows or if their presents even had bows. I don't even do bows. Why do we have bows? You can't stack the presents under the tree if there's bows on there. I don't get that. But again, they aren't going to remember if you attended every holiday event. They don't even know all the holiday events that are even available, or whether you made all your TikTok recipes that you have saved on your phone. Kids don't remember all that. They won't remember what you didn't get done on the list. They will remember how it felt to be with you. Now let's talk about teenagers. This is where it gets interesting because our teenagers care, but they just don't want to look like they care. They want to participate, but not always in the way that we want them to or that we expect them to. And they still crave connection, right? They still want the connection of the family, but they also want space and independence. And this mix of needs around the holidays can make things feel pretty confusing. And if you have teens at home, I'm sure that you have noticed they spend a heck of a lot of time in their bedrooms. They are sometimes moody or quiet. They don't always say yes to family plans. Again, they do show up, but not always the way that we imagined it. And that's okay. Teenagers, they are navigating so many things. They're trying to figure out who they are. They're trying to figure out who their friends really are. They're navigating all these social dynamics, their own desire for freedom, and yet they still want to feel close at home. So here's what I tell parents all the time. Do not take that teenage distance personally. It's not about you. If they disappear in their room for hours or roll their eyes or they choose their friends over you sometimes, it does not mean that they don't love you or they don't love the holidays. It means they're just growing. And ironically, this is often the stage where your presence matters more than ever, even if they don't say it. So what teenagers really need most during the holidays is some flexibility. They need invitations that are low pressure, not expectations, but invitations like, hey, do you want to come down and join us? We're all going to watch a movie together. And then give them the ability to say no without making them feel guilty. They still do appreciate small, simple moments of connection. Maybe it's just a short car ride up to the mall to pick something up, or stopping at Starbucks with your teenager to get some peppermint mocha-ish thing. Or maybe it's just a simple late night conversation because they are finally chatty at 11 o'clock at night. So our teenagers don't always show it, but those moments still matter to them more than we even realize. So just stay focused on those small moments during those teenage years. All right, let's talk about our college age kids. By the time that this episode is out in the world, I will have both my college age son home and my daughter in graduate school. They'll both be home. And if you've got college age kids, you know that you can tell how exhausted they are the minute they walk in the door. They are emotionally spent. They've probably just finished up with finals. They're overstimulated. Their nervous systems need to reset. And also, it's just an adjustment coming home back into the house. They're used to all this freedom and independence. And so often we are so excited they're coming home. We're like, oh my gosh, we've got from middle December, we've got a month with them until they go back to school in January. And so we imagine this beautiful stretch of holiday togetherness. And sometimes that doesn't match what they are capable of giving right away. I know some parents, they feel disappointed by this. Again, they imagined days of hot chocolate by the fire and lots of movie nights and deep conversations. And instead, they get this kid who's basically sleeping 14 hours a day and they wake up at 2 p.m. and then they go running off. They go running off to see their friends instead of hanging out with you. But listen, this is all normal stuff. It doesn't mean they don't love being home. It just means they are recovering. And you and home is their safe place to land. So our college kids do not need you to pack their schedule. They don't need big plans. They don't need constant traditions over and over again. They need some rest. They need some freedom to decompress, some space to settle back in, and then time to reconnect at their pace. And if you give them that space, then that connection will naturally return and it'll be even better because you didn't force it on them. All right, then let's go on to our grown adult children. This stage is one of those, it's a lot of things, right? Because it's beautiful. It's your child has grown into this wonderful adult, but it's also some grief and transition too. It's all those things rolled together. And your role as a parent changes for adult children. And sometimes your expectations and your traditions may need to change along with it. Maybe you used to open presents first thing in the morning on Christmas Day, and now your adult child is not coming over until later in the afternoon because they have to visit their partner's family first. Or maybe you used to have everyone stay overnight Christmas night, and now that doesn't work because guess what? People have pets, or maybe they have kids, or their spouses don't want to spend the night. Maybe you used to host Christmas dinner and now your adult child wants to host for the first time. I personally cannot wait. I can't wait for my kids to host. I've hosted a long time, so that sounds really exciting to me. Or maybe it's just your adult child can't get off work. Maybe they can't get off work for Christmas. And those changes can it can tug at your heart. And that's okay. It's just a part of the evolution of family life. But what every adult kid needs the most during the holidays is freedom, understanding, flexibility, and really a relationship with you that evolves like they are evolving. They don't need guilt or pressure or the feeling that they are disappointing you. They need you to appreciate and accommodate their new lives with love, not with a heaping dose of guilt. So remember, no matter what the age is, what the stage is, this remains true that kids remember how it felt to be with you. They remember that. Not whether you pulled off the perfect Christmas, not whether you checked everything off the to-do list, not whether you made 6 different types of cookies instead of 2. They are just going to remember the feeling of you, your presence, your warmth, your emotional availability, your energy. And the best thing that you can do for the people you love this holiday season isn't to create the perfect experience. It's to be the best version of yourself, be the best version of you, not the stressed out one, not the overwhelmed one. And that only becomes possible when we let go of some of this pressure, the pressure to be perfect, the pressure to make everybody happy, pressure to match somebody else's holiday or meet everyone's expectations or just hold it all together. We hold so many expectations of ourselves, of our kids, our families, how the season's going to feel. And most of the time, The stress is not coming from what's actually happening. Most of the time, the stress comes from that gap between our expectations and what we hoped was going to happen, and then our actual reality. So when we soften those expectations and we are a little bit more flexible and a little more present, then the whole season can feel different. So, I do want to offer a few questions for you to think about as we go into this next week. The first question would be to ask yourself, what pressure am I carrying that I can just set down? Is it the pressure to be perfect? Is it the pressure to create something magical for your kids? The next question would be, what expectations of yourself are unrealistic or unnecessary even? Do you really have to bake 6 different types of cookies? I mean, go with chocolate chips and call it a day. And to that end, ask yourself where you can simplify, even just a little bit. Maybe it's managing your schedule. You don't have to go to every holiday party and event just because you were invited. Ask yourself, what would help me be more present with the people that I love? Is it scheduling some dedicated time with them? Is it being more spontaneous and grabbing my teenager and going to Starbucks? Is it that you need a little more sleep? Is it that adding some exercise in would give you an extra kick of energy? You know, a couple weeks ago, I had my dear friend Doran on, who's a yoga instructor, and we were talking about how important it is to check in with yourself daily. She gave us some beautiful calming exercises to do, combining that with a gratitude practice each morning. I talked about that, and I think it was episode 13 on gratitude, but starting your day like that. And then finally, what small moment of connection can I choose today? Whether it's grab your kid and go somewhere, maybe it is taking the time to read 2 bedtime stories to your toddler instead of racing through reading just 1. I don't know what it is for you, but give those questions some thought, because if you put some time into them, it can really change things for you and also for your kids this holiday season. So as we move into this next week, I hope that you will let yourself just release a little bit of the pressure that you've been carrying. You know, you don't need to do it all. You don't need to match anyone else's version of Christmas. You don't need to preserve traditions that no longer fit your family's needs or desires this year. Your presence and your love, exactly like you are, is more than enough. And I do really hope that you hear that. Your kids are not measuring your performance. They're not evaluating how many events that you planned or whether the gifts were perfect. They are just absorbing the emotional tone and feel of the season, the warmth, the ease, the connection. All of that comes from you. It doesn't come from your to-do list. That's what your kids are going to remember the most. All right. Well, that wraps us up for today. Again, thank you for spending time with me and listening. If you are struggling with your relationship with one of your children, please reach out to me if you need support. You can always get information off the website, which is jenfunkcoaching.com. And otherwise, I am wishing you peace and connection this week, and I will see you in the next episode. Thanks for joining me on Relating with Jen Funk. To find out how we can work together and get free resources to strengthen your relationships, head to jenfunkcoaching.com and sign up for my newsletter. Till then, stay connected, stay encouraged, and I'll see you next week.